Working in your passion and exactly what you're meant to be doing, and which is the reason that you started your business to begin with, is always the most fun part of having and doing what we do. But there is the component that is so important, and that is the back end of your business and doing the paperwork and staying on top of it so that you can do more of what you do. Nothing sexier than talking about taxes and paperwork and expenses, but it is something that is 100% needed to make a business successful. So today I'm going to talk about a few organizational systems that I have implemented over the years that have really worked to minimize the time focused on that area, but is still keeping things successful and freeing me up to be able to work on my passion. In case you're new here, my name is Heather Bresser with Heather Bresser Online. I help busy mompreneurs look like they have it all together while getting more done in less time. If you haven't yet, hit that like button and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so that you are notified when new content goes live, usually on Wednesdays. And I have lots of resources and tips and tutorials that you are not going to want to miss. So I want to do a little disclaimer first. I am just a small business owner in Washington State in the US, and I am not a tax advisor. I am not an attorney. I am not a CPA. I highly recommend that you sit down with yours and really come up with a plan that's going to best suit your business to maximize the tax advantages, make sure that all the legalities are taken care of, and that it's going to work best for you. But I'm going to share with you today that of systems that have worked for me over the past decade and a half. So I just wanted to put that disclaimer up first so that there's no confusion. I am not an attorney. I am not a CPA, but this has worked for me. So let's get started. I know talking about paperwork is, what a snore. But it is so important that we stay on top of it and we know our figures, and you got to take care of your own finances. Yes, definitely. If you're in the position, hire an assistant to actually enter in your expenses and enter in the day-to-day stuff. But when it comes to the finances, highly recommend that you are the one to write the checks. You are the one to make the deposits, because then you don't run the risk of those things disappearing or not making it into the proper or the appropriate account. It is so important. What kind of systems? I personally use a system in my direct sales called Boulevard. It tracks everything from first contact with someone that's not quite a client through transitioning them to clients. It tracks everything about them, their profile, where I met them, their likes, their dislikes, birthdays, anniversaries. It tracks everything. I absolutely love it. I've used it for well over 10 years. I absolutely love it. There are it also tracks inventory. It also tracks expenses, mileage log. There's a side-along app that goes with it. It's kind of an all-encompassing. I absolutely love it. I've also used in previous businesses Quickbooks. I find it not as user-friendly. So if you're just starting out and you want something kind of simple, go with something like Quicken, or even you can start with Excel, but you've got to have a good system where you can enter in all your expenses, all of your receipts, and tracking that way. So what do you do when you have a pile of receipts and you're just kind of going, what do I do with all this? What do I know what to keep? What do I know what to toss, or just I don't need to keep track of? Anything to do with your business expense-wise. Meeting with a client and you bought coffee, that's a business expense, at least in my book. So I've used this beauty. It is just one of those accordion files, and each one, here, let's get this open. Each one has its own little section and has like automobile expenses. It has, what else? It has my meals and entertainment, which is when you meet for coffee. It has gross receipts. It has just about everything to do. So when I have a receipt, I come home, I pop it in here, and then at the end of the week, I pull out the stack and total it all up, staple it all together, and it goes in my tax binder. So just kind of take a bite every single week out of doing your paperwork will make it so it's not becoming this insurmountable mountain. and making tax time feel absolutely dreadful. So if you keep on top of it every single week, makes it super simple. So you sat down for your week and you've entered in your expenses into your program. Now what do you do with that kind of bundle of processed receipts? Well, highly recommend a 2-inch binder. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. So you've taken a binder and each of the categories is its own category in the binder, and you just pop those receipts right into that section and you're done. Super simple. You'll have to connect with your CPA or tax advisor to find out how many of these you actually need to keep on hand. I have one per year, and according to mine, I need only about 3 to 5 years on hand, and then I recycle the rest. So make sure that you, again, meet with that advisor to know exactly what you need for your business and to keep things on hand just in the event that you have an audit. You know, it's important to have a paper backup to your digital backup, because you never know when computers or those disks or thumb drives fail, and you always want a rock solid backup plan. So make sure that you have that ready to rock. One of the easiest things that you can write off, at least in my area, is your mileage and expenses for your vehicle. Super simple. Yes, there are hundreds of apps that you can download. I personally have one that ties in with the computer system and it automatically syncs with it. Highly recommend one less step if possible. But if you just want something super simple, a really small composition book or notebook, and you just write in the date, the destination and purpose of your trip, your beginning mileage, and your end mileage. Now, I've started this, I just wanted to show as an example. I used to do this before I found my computer system, but you just, at the very beginning of the year, write your beginning odometer reading and then fill out the rest as you go. So if you go to the bank, tax write-off, that mileage, heck yeah. Product deliveries, networking, all that sort of thing. You'll notice that some of the numbers in the beginnings are all different from the previous. It's because I don't track personal miles. I only track business miles. Again, check with your tax advisor to see what's best for you, but that's how it works for me. Now, in your company, do you find that you go to events or trainings and you come home with a boatload of flyers and worksheets and notes and you just don't know what to do with them? I highly recommend putting together 3 different binders. I have, for my direct sales business, I have one binder for booking, one binder for sharing, and one binder for social media. And so anytime that I go to an event and I come home, I can highlight real quick the important spots, toss the stuff that really wasn't important to me, and then I can file it away so that, say I get into a point where, my bookings are kind of getting stale. I need to, what are some ideas that worked in the past or some suggestions that some mentors suggested? I can pull out the booking binder and thumb through real quick, and it's just the most successful ideas that are compiled. And I'm not just stockpiling a lot of needless paperwork. Highly recommend that. Another system that I have implemented, not only for my business, but for our family, is our calendar and scheduling system. I have a paper, so I have my little mobile planner. I have a big wall calendar that I call the Family Central or Family Calendar, and it's also mirrored on my phone through Google Calendar. So each family member has their own calendar, and the virtual version actually syncs our 2 phones, so that, say one of my kiddos is at school and has a project that she needs to have happen, or she wants to go to a friend's house, or something is happening that I need to be a part of, she can put it on her calendar and it shows up on mine, and then she just texts me saying, hey, check this out, let me know. And it's just a really fast and easy way to be able to sync everybody's calendar. And then we've made it a priority in our family that anything that's on the calendar has to be on that family master calendar, or it's not mom's problem. So yeah, that sounds a little harsh, but it took about a month to get everybody trained to use it, but it's got to be on there. Each person has their own color, which also corresponds to the color that's on our phones. And it's an easy snapshot of who needs to be where, what needs to be involved. Is there any planning? Is there any supplies that are needed? So if you're talking school project like science projects, nothing better than 8 o'clock the night before it's due and kiddos saying, hey, by the way, I got a project that I need help with. If it's not on the calendar, then they get to do it on their own. If it is on the calendar and say they scheduled something, put it on the calendar, and then I tried to schedule something, but I didn't get my things on the calendar in time, I'm the one that has to reschedule and accommodate them. So it kind of keeps everybody accountable and aware of what's happening, and nothing falls through the cracks. So it's something that really works for our family. So those are some systems that I have implemented into my business over the years that have really kept me on track, organized, and moving forward and focused. So I highly, highly recommend it. Definitely, like I said before, if you haven't yet, sit down with your CPA or tax advisor to find out exactly what you need to track, how you need to track it, and to be able to report it, because that's one of the bonuses of having your own business, is being able to have those tax write-offs. So why not maximize them, right? You know, I love to give little freebies, and I have one just for you. It is the top 10 tips for working from home successfully. So how do you get a hold of that? You go to my website, which is www.heatherbresser.com/work-from-home. Then you're going to need an access code, and the access code is homework, HOMEWORK, all one word, all lowercase. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe so that you are notified when new content goes live on Wednesdays. And here are a couple videos that I think you might like. Top 5 hacks for having the best morning routine, and the other is 5 strategies for creating a more positive life. So as always, tribe, I hope you have a fantastic day.